Fasting has been around for many, many generations, many, many centuries across many cultures and civilizations. But only in modern day have we started to understand why fasting works, and we are still in the process of better understanding the science behind fasting. Today, I want to introduce you to the definition of it, a couple of different types, and some of the benefits we already know. We'll end with my favorite type of fasting, which is called time-restricted feeding. So let's get started. The definition of fasting is effectively the state of external energy consumption cessation and utilization of your internal energy sources. To better understand the energy sources in our body, I suggest you watch the nutrition videos. So, if the goal is to cease or restrict how much energy comes in, we can do this in a few different ways. And these pertain to the different types of fasts that exist. Below are three of them. Intermittent fasting pertains to a 60% energy restriction in 24 hours. In general, people who follow intermittent fasting would do it for at least 2 days for every 5 days of consumption, which is known as 5-2. There's also periodic fasting that occurs, which is intermittent fasting that occurs for consecutive days, as minimum of 2 days and even as much as 21 days or more. I highly recommend, if you are intending to do periodic fasting, you consider medical supervision. The last category that we'll talk about is called time-restricted feeding, which is limiting your intake of food within a certain bracket. Most commonly, the brackets will include the time that you are sleeping, and usually the amount of fasting hours will be something like 12, 14, or 16. And the opposite time when you're not fasting is what we would call consumption state. So, what are some benefits that we know? From a metabolic standpoint, fasting is when you're significantly reducing your input, the intake of energy or things like calories. So, if you are looking to balance this piece, how much that's coming in compared to how much that's going out, fasting is one great way to do that. Cognitive functioning, development, and efficiency has also been seen to be greatly benefited by fasting. So, if you're looking to help your brain reduce inflammation, feel sharper, and feel better overall, fasting is definitely the way to go. The other thing that we see with fasting is a major regulation of your internal and external clocks. All of your organs and your brain and your body are really, really impacted by the circadian rhythm. And the main type of fasting that is impacting this is time-restricted feeding. So let's talk a little bit about that. Like I said, this is my favorite type of fast and one that I recommend for everybody to try to follow to their best ability. Time-restricted feeding goes back to our circadian clock, and to get more understanding of this, I suggest that you watch the sleep hygiene videos and series. So here, for example, we know that in general, our body is set to a rhythm where the main hormone that would come into play for nighttime, melatonin, increases right around the 6 to 8 p.m. or sunset. And the main hormone that is going to be important for our productivity time, cortisol, is going to start getting its peak around that 4 to 6 a.m. or sunrise. So in this time, really, we are meant to be sleeping, rejuvenating, really activating our parasympathetic forces. And this is already a fasting period for your body. When you wake up and get started with your day, when you introduce calories back into your system, you will effectively break your fast. So time-restricted feeding is developing a good balance between the number of hours that we are in fasting state and the number of hours we are in consumption state. Consumption state starts after we break our fast all the way until we are about to enter our fast. So let's give a simple example. Let's say your bedtime is at 10 o'clock every night, and that is when you want to begin your fasting state. And maybe you intend to break your fast around 10 a.m. the next day. That will be a 12-hour time-restricted feed. That means from 10 a.m. until that 10 p.m. will be your consumption state. What's very important to understand that you need to allow at least 2 to 4 hours for your body to break down what it has received from that external energy source, which means that your final caloric intake cannot be at bedtime. It has to be 2 to 4 hours before bedtime. So 6 to 7 p.m. would be when that dinner time would occur. A few very important things to understand: water, herbal teas, for example, are all okay to consume because they have no calories. The other important thing to understand is that the lower the glycemic index of your dinner, the sooner you enter fasting state because the less the body has to do to enter it. Also to note, if you want to speed up that digestion and speed up your entrance into fasting, use your muscles, use your brain, get some movement in after dinner, for example. The main point here is to enter fasting state, you must have a time between when you consume that final calorie and giving your body some time to digest it. So really avoiding snacks after dinner can make a big impact on how long your body sustains fasting state. I hope this video gave you some great insight, and I will see you in the next one.